Joanne is the one right between our three libraries. The three libraries are 6 miles apart. And it's like, we've got to do things together. We're so close, and yet kids don't always make it, from one place to the other. But we got together months before the summer program started. This is science, this is fun. Let's see what kind of things we can do. What we've done in the past is we've blocked book programs. So we did a little bit of that still, and had Boston Museum of Science would come up and do a program at 3 different locations over 2 days' time. So we've done that kind of thing together. The science things, we just sort of picked each other's brains. What are you doing? How are you working that one? And you work with the trunk this week, and we'll work with it next week. We never really got success with having all the kids come to one library for a program and then to another library, because they're just limited where they can go. But we came up with this idea, let's have a science festival kind of to end the program. And figure it was a big enough deal, parents would help the kids get the 6 miles into the big park in Pittsfield. So we met several times, planned it out, and it started with thinking that we librarians and a couple of our volunteers were each going to set up a table, and the kids would move from table to table. But like I said, Joanne, who's home with a sick kid, came up with this better idea of begging. She is great at asking other organizations and leveraging one organization against the other. So she goes to the Children's Museum in Bangor. Oh yeah, we'd love to come do an outreach program, and it won't cost anything to come down. Then she calls the Children's Museum in Augusta. Bangor's going to be there, won't you come too? So now we've got 2 tables staffed. And she just does that kind of thing. And unfortunately, I didn't make it to the program that they actually did at the end, so I can't remember what the groups were there. I think a Girl Scout group did a session, and
4-H was there.
4-H was there. You were there, and Stephanie was there.
Yes.
So that's why I'm like, who else was there?
Okay, I'll help.
Help me out.
We had the J.C. Bates Museum who did...
Elsie Bates, yes.
Thank you. Elsie Bates Museum who did a geology. We had 4-H who did rocketry. We had the UMaine Bangor Children's Library do one on nanotechnology.
Oh, that was good, yeah.
We had Chimpro do one on
water. Building with toothpicks?
Yes, building with toothpicks,
yes.
An engineering project. We had a Girl Scouts group and...
Bubbles?
They did.
Somebody did bubbles.
They did bubbles.
Bubbles.
That's exactly right. They did bubbles. We had another group who created balloon-powered cars and raced them. We also had a musician and storyteller at the end, as well as, and I don't know who was the master behind this, but also several giveaways, and we had a raffle in terms of books and various donations provided for the Tri-Town Science Festival.
So that's what happened. So it all got pulled off, and I was a country away wondering, I hope it's working, I hope it's working out while I'm exploring Alaska. And it did work out. I think there's like 50, 60 kids and their grown-ups with them. We tried to figure out, you micromanage, well, they're each going to get a card that says what stations they should go to and tick off. And I think what ended up happening is they just sort of explored from one station to the other without really timing it. We thought we needed to have a grand closure of a musician, singer, and it turned out that really wasn't the case. It didn't need to happen. The science part was enough. It was somebody who said, I have a singing storytelling program that goes with the science program. I think by the end of the couple hours that they were going around, they were kind of tired out from it. So it was a good success. We want to do it again. It was fun. It was science. And it just kind of was one of those things that felt good to do it. And now we're looking at next summer where it's every hero has a story, and we're looking at that and gee, the science looked more exciting. So we're trying to figure out how we can get scientific heroes so we can pull it all together again. So that's what we did, and I can field questions and try to answer.
You had a great amount of people there, just as we're talking about promotion. What did you do to promote that?
Kind of things they just said. was on Facebook pages and the newspapers and posters around. Probably didn't promote it as well as we might have.
Well, John Clark, he's the ultimate promoter.
Right, he promoted things out. I know we wrote up press releases, put them in the papers. And our local weekly paper is the one that people read the most, so it went into there. And I know we're trying to say, oh, the TV will come down, and I don't think they did. Did you see any TV stations down there?
No, but the other thing was also the placement of where the park was. It was right associated with a Little League game that was going on as well. So there was a lot of informal, impromptu stopping by from the game as well. So that would be an additional promotional point of view. If you're thinking about doing something like this, is to consider do it where the traffic is.
Yeah, we had a choice of 2 different parks in Pittsfield, and one was a much bigger park and not visible. And I said, let's do the one that's right on the main street, and it's also, because it's smaller, it's more contained. And I thought that would, keep people together better. Question? Yes?
How many of your presenters did you pay?
Elsie Bates Museum was paid, and the singer was paid. I don't think we paid anything else. So,
Did they ask for payment, or did you just propose it in a way that you didn't even offer?
like I said, Joanne's really good at asking. And I think these organizations were seeing it as the partner organization. The museums were glad to come and do the outreach because that would then bring people into their museums that would pay admission. Chimbro, it's part of what they do for the community. That's, they're our big employer. So they weren't paid.
What was the feedback on it?
Oh, the kids had a great time.
No, I mean, was there comments afterwards, days afterwards? Would they like to see that again?
I think so.
Yeah, well, there was a feedback form on that, and yes, all of the kids and their parents said they do want to see this again, and they also offered up different science topics that they would like to participate in as well. I have those that feedback sheet as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of singers and such things, I've always thought that it was just fun to have someone who knows the song lyrics. And there are several others that have done things that take off on science and numbers and such things. They're kind of fun.
So since Joanne isn't here, I'm going to assign her a homework assignment, and that is to jot down the magic of her ask. What is it? How does she convince people to give free? Know that go to people that do give free. So Chimbro is mandated to want to do public outreach. 4-H has many programs that are free. So don't think that you're not limited to just a Chewonki, a Mad Science, this, that. There are several organizations whose mandate is to go out and speak to the public about that. So if you need assistance with that, we can certainly help with that. But I will assign Joanne the task to write and highlight a few of her favorite pitch lines that convinces people to give of their time and their resources.
She's good at that. Any other questions? One of our challenges that I was worried about from half a country, full country away, was what if it rains? And we did have a backup plan that the school could be used for us. Because we're an outside park, we were able to go into the school, and this was the negotiation on my part was, yes, it's available, what about janitorial? Do we have to pay for that? And I said, well, really, this is educational, it's for the school kids in the town, no cost. So I thought, yes, the school's behind this too, which, felt good that I did a good ask on that one. Yes?
One thing that we've done is the local rental company that rents tents. If you ask them, they'll usually give you, if you're going to have 2 big events in the summer, ask them if they'll donate a tent. And they do. They do it every summer. They say, okay, when do you need it? And they set it up for us for free.
Good.
That's something else.
With that, I want to turn it over to
Mamie and Denise.
Great. Thank you very much. First of all, let me say how happy I am to have you here today. I've been here for a year and a half. I just love this place, and I'm very proud to show it off. Please feel free to take a tour afterwards, see our children's room, our computer lab, our media lab upstairs. It would be worth it to take the tour. And I also want to say that I've been here for a year and a half, so what I'm working with is an excellent foundation that the staff had and the previous administration had laid for us to continue with this. So, you know, thank you for inviting us to speak. And I want to introduce Debbie Cleveland, who is our children's librarian. And we also have Corinna Susi, who works in our children's room, and Donna Wallace, who is our teen librarian and our media lab coordinator. So if you have questions, they're here to answer. So the first thing I want to talk about is why we are involved in science programming and STEM. And our mission is engage, enlighten, and enrich. And certainly any type of programming that we provide, but especially these days, any STEM programming that we do certainly fits within this mission. It makes us a vital part of our community. It gets our name out there. It gets it recognized. We're 80% funded by the city, so anything that we can do that can cement our connection with the schools, with the residents, we will take advantage of. So this is great because the programming that Debbie's going to talk about has been very well received. We've been able to establish some very important collaborations. For example, we've worked with 4-H, we've worked with the Cooperative Extension Program. We've had, you know, a number of people come in, Head Start, and you'll see a lot of that in there. It supports our school system. We're always looking to do that. And I think one of the advantages I realized just the other day is that when we do a program here, it's available. Yes, they do have to travel to the library, but it's available to all the children in the school system. It's not just the children at, say, Sherwood Heights or Fairview. They can all come here and take advantage of our programs. It's very beneficial to our homeschooling population, which we have a significant number of. It levels the playing field for the economically disadvantaged because most of these programs, in fact, very, very few programs, I think we just had 1 or 2 within the last year, do they have to pay for anything to participate in the program. And it enhances economic development in the community as we prepare our future workforce. And I thought this was important to talk about because the changing world, kids need to be more exposed to science and technology, and STEM is reaching further down into the grade schools. I went to a Chamber of Commerce breakfast yesterday, and they had an economist from the Boston Fed come up, and he talked about Maine's prospects. It was the most depressing speech I've ever heard. However, on the other side of it, it showed that libraries can really take advantage, work with their communities to assist in economic development by providing STEM programs, because we need to prep the children for our workforce, A, to keep them here, and B, to to keep them here, to attract the jobs here, and to make sure that the jobs can be filled. And I have a slide that I stole from yesterday. This is from Educate Maine, and I also went to a presentation last Friday, which was excellent, by this group. And they're showing what levels of achievement are. And you can see that, in 4th grade, only 37% are at the proper level in reading, and only 47% in math. And then when you get to the 8th grade, it really doesn't change that much. And in fact, the math proficiency decreases. So that was what they were focusing on, is that we have to have the population who has the education to be able to maintain jobs and attract jobs. So that's a big economic development factor. And I'm really, I come from a small business family, so I'm very sensitive to small businesses, economic development, and that's one of the reasons why we're working with the city to help in any way we can. We'll host meetings, we'll host events, anything that we can do that will help expose this area, because downtown Auburn is something that they're really focusing on in terms of building up and making more attractive, trying to attract a younger community here. So this is a great opportunity because we also raise our standing in the community. They're saying, oh yeah, the library. And a couple of years ago, when they were doing the budget, they were going to brown out a fire station rather than come to the library to ask for cuts. So I think that that's a pretty good indication that we work very well with our community and that we're very proud. So I'm going to let Deb talk about why we do STEM and then show you some projects that we've done, and then I'll finish up. Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry. All right. So
We're sharing a mic.
We're sharing a mic. So the first question is, so we're getting close. The first question is, why say yes to STEM? And I'm going to just say to you, why not? It's fun. It's easy. It's important to the families that we serve. Our families come in and they're looking to us to help them broaden their children's educational opportunities. It also, as Mamie said, improves the economic development potential of our community. All of the children who are coming up now, whatever jobs they take in the future, are going to have some element of science, math, or technology. So we need to get them excited and interested in science and in math and in technology so that they'll be better prepared to enter the workforce. And it creates some great collaborations within the community. The first, I don't know how to advance, so I'm going to
Just hit the, yep. There you go.
Our first foray, I guess you could say, into science programming here at the library was our Young Engineers Club. This just literally fell into my lap. The Cooperative Extension Service had a grant. A woman had a grant to work with military families in the community promoting science. And she wasn't able to find too many places in which to do that. So she came to me and said, can I do this Young Engineers Club at the library? And I said, sure. And it was a 6-week program. And it was just amazing. The things that she did a pinwheel lift, she did a catapult with marshmallows, the toilet paper roll flying. I mean, the kids loved it. It was well attended. Every session was filled to capacity. And the best thing about this was one little boy who attended, his father works at a local bank. And he had such a good time and raved about it so much to his dad at home that this gentleman came to us, and his bank has now given us an $1,000 grant so that I can repeat this next year. So we're in the planning stages now of having a second Young Engineers Club with money donated by Mechanics Savings Bank. So, you know, sometimes people can say, well, this kind of programming is expensive, but it doesn't have to be. If you make those connections in your community, if you make those collaborations, things like this will happen. So the Young Engineers Club has been a huge success for us, and we're really looking forward to doing a second round of that. Are some of you familiar with BristleBots? Okay, so it's a little toothbrush head with a little motor and little wires, and we did that again with our tweens. Center Street Dental donated the toothbrushes, so I didn't have to go to CVS and buy toothbrushes. The toothbrushes were donated. I did have to buy the motors from Radio Shack, and that was an initial expense. But it was such a fun program, and it was so exciting to see the kids create these little things. And then we have a movie, but we couldn't embed it into the PowerPoint very well, but they kind of fly across the table, and the kids were just having a wonderful time. And this is something that I think you could go to a local business in your community and ask them to underwrite it. It's under $100 to do the program, easily. And it was a great, great program, a lot of fun. And we're actually going to do it again in March with our tweens, because this is something that has been asked for again. So that's another thing that we did with science. We have also had Mad Science come several times to the library. And again, I know that they're expensive, but you get huge bang for your buck when they come. Our Mad Science programs are just filled to capacity. So it's worth it to have it if you have it in your program budget. If you don't have it in your budget, I would suggest looking to someone to underwrite it. A bank, a local business, even the parents, because it's such a great program. It's so much fun. The kids have a great time. And the thing that I like most about something like Mad Science is that it broadens the horizons for our economically disadvantaged children. We have a lot of them here, especially right here around the library. These kids don't get to go to the Children's Museum or the Science Museum. So when you can bring a program like that into your library, I think it really levels the playing field for all children, but especially those who are economically disadvantaged. So I'm a big proponent of Mad Science. We also have a Lego club, and that has been a huge success. And again, I asked the newspaper, we have a column called Sunspots, where you can ask for people to donate things. I asked for Legos. We got Legos, tons of Legos. A lady was closing her daycare. I had 2 huge bins of Legos. So what we did was we washed them, and we all took them home, washed them in our dishwasher so they'd be clean, and now we have a huge amount of Legos, and we have a monthly Lego club every Friday, the first Friday of the month. And it's well attended, it's fun, and there's not a lot of prep work for us. We just put the Legos out, and the kids just have a great time. We had so much fun with it that what we did last summer was we had a Lego showcase. So we asked kids to bring their creations. They made things with Legos, they brought them in, and we set them up in our program room, and the kids could vote on which ones they thought were the best. And I got 5 Lego books so that the top 5 winners could go home with a prize. They got a book about Legos. It's hugely successful, and it's easy to do. I think any library can do this. There's my Lego showcase. So that's what we did. And this was one of the pictures of one of the things that was done. So it was a lot of fun, and I had several parents, particularly our homeschooling parents, say, when are you going to do this again? The kids loved it, the parents loved it, and so we'll probably do it again next summer. It's easy to do, and it's a great program. The other thing that we were fortunate enough to do was we are a pilot site for the, I don't know if some of you are familiar with bedtime math. They've had some things in the past, but they did a pilot program called the Crazy Eights Math Club, and they sent a notice out on MeLibs and said, who wants to pilot? And I wrote back and said, we'd love to. And so they chose us, and so we have a Crazy Eights Math Club. It was an 8-week session. We decided to focus on grades 3 through 5 because we thought that was an area where we needed more programming. It's been hugely successful. I don't actually do it. Karina does it, my assistant. But it comes to you, it's all packaged, it's all there. You get all of the supplies, you get all of the lesson plans, and we had a lot of fun with it. And so when they asked us if we'd pilot the second session, I said sure. And the great thing about it is that we focused on grades 3 to 5, but we now can do programming for kindergartners and preschools, and also for grades 1 and 2 with the same manual. We just have to, we'll change it up a little bit. So what we're looking to do after the holidays is do one for the 1st and 2nd graders and see how that goes. And I don't know, I can't speak to whether there's going to be a cost if you're not a pilot program, but I think the cost would be minimal. And the great thing about it is that even if you do have to pay, you get to hit 3 different age ranges. So it's probably going to give you a good value for your money. One of the other things that we do is we partner with our local Head Start for an annual math literacy night here. And so that brings about 200 people into the library. Head Start does it all. We're just the host. We open up the library. They come here. They have all kinds of math activities. I think the next picture. This was right outside the hall here. They had a mitten match. When the kids came in, they had to pick a mitten off the clothesline, and then they had to find a corresponding matching mitten in a bin, and then they got to take the mittens and keep them because they have ladies who volunteer to knit for them, and they have tons of mittens. But it was kind of a great, fun, introductory activity. They take over the whole library, and it's really quite a lot of fun. So it's another way to sort of open ourselves up to the community. All of our programming, I think, brings in people to the library. And what amazes me, and I'm always interested to hear this, is that people say, I didn't know the library did this. You get them into the library, and then you can show them all the other wonderful things that you can do. And they'll say, oh, I didn't know the library. Oh, you have this. Oh, you have that. So it's great, and it's great to partner with a local agency. So we do that with Head Start. And that's not really clear, but there were dice. They had dice, and they rolled the dice, and they did the numbers. They had all kinds. It's number literacy. We have a program that we call Let's Pretend, and we explore different professions. And this was when we talked about paleontologists, but we actually did the volcano with the baking soda and the vinegar. And it was real. The kids are ages 2 to 5, but they had a blast. They loved that volcano. And so it's as simple as something like that. You don't have to have a lot of material. You can sort of program to who you have coming into your library, and this worked really well for us. The other thing that we do is we have a DIY Tweens program twice a month. So kids 9 to 12 come to the library, and primarily it focuses on crafting, but again, what we're going to do Bristlebots with them in the spring, and then there's sewing, but there's also the measuring and the cutting and the thinking, those kinds of critical thinking skills that kids need. So even though it's crafty, I think it brings in some elements of math and science. So we've been doing that with them. We made duct tape wallets where they had to measure and make sure that it was all correct. So those are some of the programs that we do here at the library. And then this is the Media Lab. I don't know if you want Donna to speak to that, or do you want to speak to that?
Do you want to tell them about it, or?
Sure.
Okay.
A little over 2 years ago, we opened our Media Lab upstairs. We received a grant from Procter & Gamble and from Best Buy for the equipment, the software, that sort of thing. And then we We have 3 27-inch iMac desktop computers, and each computer has all of the software, whether the interest is in music, photography, filmmaking. We have a green screen as well. And the idea behind it was to show teens in particular areas in which they can look toward if they have an interest in, maybe go into filmmaking, videography, music. The music is the most popular with the teenagers. But that's basically the long and the short of it. It's pretty successful. We ask that customers have a library card to use the room. We book in 2-hour increments, and it's really a nice feature. We also have some filmmaking. We have like the VHS to DVD conversion. We have the cassette tape to CD conversion. You know, iPhoto, iMovie, Audacity, GarageBand, all sorts of software, and then the Photoshop as well. So, any questions? Yes.
Do you teach courses in this, or do the kids just learn it themselves? And if you do teach, who does that?
In our first year, we did a lot of workshops. We did more workshops. I did some of the iPhoto, iMovie basics. And then I partnered with, we had some people from Bates College. One of the music professors from Bates came over and did some Audacity workshops. We had someone from the communications office at Bates come do a green screen workshop. And then I've reached out to some other people. We had a local comic book artist who knows Photoshop. He came in and did some workshops with the kids on Photoshop. So yeah, it's again a partnership. We try to reach out to the people who know those things. More recently, what I tell people is if they have an interest, because it is small, so the workshops, the capacity of the room is 6. So the workshops, and we only have 3 hands-on computers. So, so what I tell people, and I really promote it with our 6th graders, we do 6th grade tours, and I talk to them a lot about it and say, if you have an interest in a particular area, talk to me, get a couple of friends, we'll set up a workshop. And if I can't teach it, I'll find someone who can. So.
Thank
The
you.
Media Lab was done with the grant from Procter & Gamble, because we have the Tam Brands plant here in town, and with Best Buy. And we also had some endowment money that we used to do that, and it's been very successful. It's gotten us a lot of mileage, to say the least. And then we also have, when the library was built, we also were able to put in a computer lab, and we have about a dozen computers there. People who come to the library just to use a computer get an hour a day in our main computer area. But if you're working on a school project, a job search, making a resume, or a writing project, you can go in and use the computer lab, and there's no time limit on that. So that's been a great thing for us too. And what I want to focus on though is, having gone to all these workshops over the years where it says, oh, you can do this, but you need $150,000 to do it. I've always very much shied away from that. So we're very fortunate to have the Media Lab and the Computer Lab, but most of the things that we do in the library are relatively inexpensive and a lot of fun too. So it's up to you. You were going to talk about Junk Drawer.
Oh yeah, there's something called Junk Drawer Robotics. We were going to put the link in, but the person who sent me the link, when I checked the link, it was bad, so I didn't want to put that in the PowerPoint.
We can add to it. Yes.
You can add, yeah. And so we're gonna look into that, because that also, and then just the internet. YouTube is out there. There's all kinds of videos. You can sort of type in anything, and you could find a video showing you how to do it. So we're gonna look into Junk Drawer Robotics and see what we can do with that as well.
So just as an extension to that, Cornerstone's partners with 4-H, and Junk Drawer Robotics is a 4-H program. And so right now, there might be a chance, we're talking with Freedom Express to see if they would be, if 4-H brings their science trunks to Cornerstones, because they're just about 10 minutes away from us, then we can distribute their science trunks around the state as well. So stay tuned. That's the next level to the science trunk saga.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you very much. And like I said, please feel free to take a walk around the library when the program's done.
I have a question on the contacting the companies like Procter & Gamble. Because we've talked in our board meetings many times about the role that companies of all kinds that are near, they're part of the communities where the library is in, that really should be part of what the library is about. Especially if they're in any sense a high-tech company or a technology company, and most of them have a technology component, and almost all of them have experts in one form or another that would love to tell the community what the company is actually doing, and getting them interested in it, and telling them what it takes to become a member of such a company, how the company started. All of these things are really part of the fabric of a community. And we're not making use of that. And the idea of bringing companies in from the outside rather than really fostering and the companies who are here and sort of bringing the community in with the company and making it all a unified structure, I think that's really part of what Cornerstones is about.
Yeah.
To do that.
Right. And, you know, the banks are very visible. A company like Procter & Gamble or Gates Formed Fiber are very visible companies. It's amazing the number of smaller companies that would be willing to do something like that. We're very fortunate to have a great brewery over in Lewiston, and Lewiston has partnered with them to do Pints and Pages to talk about, you know, beer brewing, and Josh Christie has just recently written a book about beer in Maine and whatnot. So they've done that kind of partnership. So you get to go in and you get to see Baxter Brewery. But there are a lot of companies that you don't know about. And I would say that one of our best connections, one of our best investments is our Chamber of Commerce membership. I go to the Chamber breakfast as much as I can, and I see a lot of companies that you normally wouldn't see. For example, yesterday there was a new communications company that's around, that just joined. There is a new cooking store in Lewiston. So that's how you get to know who's around, and I would highly recommend that.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.